again, everybody, and welcome back. This is our Wednesday class video. So this video again is for my students at John Jay College of Criminal Justice during our distance learning, right? So these class videos are taking the place of our attending class on campus at school. Alright, so hopefully you all watched the video from Monday. And we're going to get back into it today as well. So a couple things before we get started with the playing today. Firstly, hope everybody is safe and well out there. Super important in the New York area for all of us to just stay put at home, as I'm sure you guys have been hearing all about. But really in the next few weeks and month, New York, has the most cases of this by far than anywhere in the country. So really especially important for all of us in the New York metropolitan area to just stay put at home unless absolutely necessary, right? For trips to the grocery store, the pharmacy, or anything work related, anything essential. Other than that, just stay at home. Alright, so hang in there. Definitely a good time on the plus side to catch up on your practicing of guitar, right? So the whole music industry and music business is shut down, and everybody's got a lot of time to just practice at home. So let's take advantage of that for this class and do as much practicing as you can. Definitely good opportunity this semester to be learning guitar, right? Because all of us are kind of homebound. Alright, and then a word about the videos. Looks like most everybody has been on there and watched, part one. I have seen a steep decline, right, in views. Some of you are not making it over to part two of the videos. So be sure that there is to watch both part one and part two. Unfortunately, that's just a necessity of such a long file, such a long video for the entire 1 hour and 15-minute class, which is our regular class time, right? 1 hour and 15 minutes. So that's what we're going to continue to do with these videos, right? 1 hour and 15 minutes. So make sure you watch part two, all right? So I can see that there was a steep decline by the time we got to part two. Many of you didn't get to part two. So we're still going to be covering essential things in part two with the strumming patterns and chord songs that you guys will need to be playing for the midterm, right? So that's definitely not optional. You got to stay with the video all the way to the end, and that means clicking on the next link for part two when this one runs out. So be sure to do that, right? So that would be the equivalent of just walking out of class with 15 minutes to go, and still more important information and playing that we're going to get to it all the way through to the end. And particularly those of you that are new to chords, I introduced a new strumming pattern that was totally new in the last segment of the class in part two last time. So do make sure that you watch part one and part two for each one of these videos. All right, and then for the attendance, as I mentioned last time, I'm going to take attendance by having you send me a short email, which most of you did. So I was glad to see that you're out there and listening and getting these videos. So be sure after each one of these class videos that you take a second to just send me a quick email, 2 sentences. I watched the video on the date, and mention one thing that I cover in the video in your email. All right, and that's all you need to do, and I'll mark you as attended for that day, right? But that's necessary for the attendance. So I know you're out there and getting this information. These can be accessed by anybody with a smartphone, right? So everybody's got a smartphone these days, so there's nothing technologically advanced about what we're doing for this class. These YouTube video links, everybody can get to no problem and watch these. So then send me a short email saying that you watched the video for the date and one thing that I covered in the video. All right, and that's how I'll know that you attended. out there in online land at home. All right, and then looking forward for the class, next important date we have in the class is April 6th, right? That's going to be our midterm date. So I mentioned last time, I'm sure it was a cause for rejoicing to learn that there's not going to be a written part of the midterm due to the highly unusual circumstances that we're in now with the distance learning. Decided to just move the class forward with the playing part of the class. All right, everybody's got a lot on their plate with this, and that seems reasonable to me, and it seems a reasonable expectation for you to still be able to keep up with the playing by watching these videos and practicing at home. We're going to move at a slightly slower pace, so just looking for signs of effort that you're keeping up with this, practicing at home. And then for the midterm on April 6th, which is a week from Monday, before the break, you're going to upload a video of your playing, a short cell phone video. Just position the phone in such a way that I can see your face and your hands as best as we can. And then you're going to play through what we're going to talk about for the midterm, right? Which is going to be our 3 scales. E minor pentatonic, C major scale, A natural minor scales, which we introduced on Monday, as well as 2 of the exercises we're working on this week from the book. So that's 11, 12, and 13. I'm going to let you pick 2 of those to play for the midterm, plus Knocking on Heaven's Door, so the chords at the end. And then, so you just want to let the video run while you play through all those different things. And my hope is that by doing it by a cell phone video, be much less stressful for people. You can take your time and just get as good a version as you can. You could do a bunch of tries until you get a video where you can go all the way through and play each of those things as best you can. And then you're going to attach that to Blackboard, where it's going to be in discussion groups. I'll give more information about the exact specifics about how to upload it, but it'll be on Blackboard in a discussion board thread. It'll say midterm, and that's where you'll upload, post the video, cell phone video of you playing. All right, so that's how we're going to do the midterm. So that's still set for April 6th, the week from Monday. So that's the next thing we're gearing up for. So you want to be practicing the songs and watching these videos with me. Again, nice thing about these videos, you can re-watch them. You can go back to the first video from last week to really review where the exercises are first introduced, the chords are first introduced, and stay with that as long as you need to. Re-watch as many times as you need to really get that down. So that's a nice thing about this format. You can pause, rewind, re-watch as much as you need to. All right, but the expectation is still that you're practicing every day and watching the videos just like you'd be coming to class. And then the midterm a week from Monday. So shoot for that. Everybody's got a cell phone, a smartphone. That's all you'll need to just take a short video of your playing that you're then going to upload. All right, so email me if you have any questions about any of that. Email, and do be checking your email as we're doing this distance learning. That's going to be super important. That's where I'm going to be posting announcements for the class, as well as links to these videos. All the videos for class are posted in the course materials on Blackboard, but I'm also going to send a link to the YouTube videos in an email announcement as well, so there should be no problem at all accessing them. But do be checking that email every day for John Jay. All right, so we're going to jump in today. Let's tune up first. This is our E, first string E. I usually tune up with the first string, the high E first, and the second string B, and G, and our D, E. So make sure you tune up before you practice, right? Don't just get in the habit of picking up an out-of-tune guitar and playing through the songs. Always tune up when you sit down to play. Just do a quick check to make sure you're in tune as best you can. It will not sound good otherwise. All right, so before we get into the playing, actually, we're going to talk a little bit about classical guitar today. We've mentioned, so this is a classical guitar. So classical guitar being a style of music, a genre, classical music played on the guitar. So that means essentially composed music that's written out and the player learns it from the sheet music. And very often memorizes it for performance, but it's originally learned off of a written score, sheet music or a book. And then it also refers to the specific style of instrument we mentioned, right? So that is originally a Spanish guitar design. This is a classical guitar, this one here. And there's some key differences we talked about. The nylon strings are the biggest difference. You'll notice the strings just have a different look and feel and sound, kind of like the strings on a tennis racket in terms of the texture and the look. Nylon. And nylon is really just a synthetic modern recreation of what gut strings were like, right? So the strings were gut for many centuries, really until the 20th century. About the 1950s, Augustine came up with invented the nylon strings and started to mass produce those, and much more cheap and less affected by humidity and things like that for touring musicians. So they became just the standard, so that just about everybody uses nylon strings now for classical guitar. We mentioned also the nylon strings are also used in most styles of Latin music, as well as flamenco, but they have a very different sound and feel than the steel strings. But there's some other differences as well in the classical guitar. The neck is wider, right, in this direction. It has a very different feel, wider and thinner front to back this way. And the headstock is different, right? The slotted headstock, the tuners are different. We mentioned that the strings are tied through the bridge rather than they do not have the ball end like the steel strings. All right, and then as far as the technique, and also no dots, right? No dots on the fingerboard, and not even any side dots, which is most unusual if you're not familiar with that. I actually stick a 7th fret dot on here. I need at least one, and a lot of people do that. But also in terms of the technique for the classical guitar, it's with the right-hand fingers, all right? And specifically, advanced classical players and professionals pretty much all use their fingernails to play with. So you get more volume and different tone colors and a little bit of a faster attack by actually using fingernails instead of just the fingertips. But certainly as students, beginners of this technique, it's okay to just use the fingertips. But classical guitarists, as I mentioned before, tend to have long fingernails on the right hand and then still have to, of course, be totally short on the left. So you can usually spot a guitarist who plays in this style, but with the long nails on the right hand and short on the left. And so basically for this class, we've been learning classical guitar technique essentially from our book is geared towards classical guitar. So that's what you all have been learning in this class, even if you've been doing it on a steel string. So the technique is different. It's with the right hand fingers, no pick on a classical guitar. It's with the fingers and specifically with the fingernails eventually. All right, so I think it provides a great foundation to then, even if you're not going to be a classical guitarist per se, branching off into whatever style of music you want to play, with that foundation of technique and musicianship from learning to read music, really gives you the best possible foundation for then going off and playing whatever style you want to play specifically. So then, just to show you the difference now, that's the classical guitar, and then this is a steel string guitar, which I believe most of you have at home. All right, so has a totally different sound. I'll be playing this one with a pick. much brighter, twangier kind of a sound on the steel string. The neck, much thinner. You wouldn't be able to play a steel string really at all if it had the neck of a classical. So the neck is thinner. There's some different body styles for the steel string, so there's not just one kind of steel string acoustic. This is what we call a 00 size. So the standard size is created originally by the Martin Guitar Company. Single O, which is very small body style. 00, which is what this is. Triple O, which is a little bigger, and then Dreadnought. Dreadnought is much larger, a lot more bass, which I also have a Dreadnought, but I like the 00 it's a lot more portable. If you're just playing solo, it's not as loud, but for solo playing and for carrying around, I really like the 00 size. Dreadnought would be better for trying to play with a full band and be heard acoustically. So bluegrass players all play the Dreadnought size. It's much bigger. So that's maybe what you have. Those are the standard sizes for the steel string. All right, so we're going to be using, obviously you don't have to have one of each at home. You could be doing either one of these styles on the guitar that you have at home, but just wanted to show you a little bit about what the different sound and appearance of the different styles, so you're familiar with these terms, right? So we're going to jump into, we are going to be using the pick now. So when we get to Knocking on Heaven's Door today again, so you want to have some picks. It's certainly not the time to go to the guitar store now, but hopefully you still have some picks from the beginning of class that you can use. If not, just use the back of your nail. But we're going to get to the pick now for the songs outside of the book. All right, so let's jump in again. We're going to go to our scales that we learned on Monday. So there was this handout here that's up on Blackboard as well. It'll be under scale handout. So you'll see a PDF of this handout here. We got well, it's really just 2 new scales, and this is just a note review of all the notes we know so far in the book. All right, so you have that on Blackboard. So let's play our note review first off today. So that's the bottom one, note review from the book so far. And we're going to play from D up to G. And you can do that as a warm-up. It makes a great exercise for playing. So that you can reach, you can hit any of these notes that we learned from the book easily without looking, and that will greatly help you when you go to play the songs in the book, the exercises. So let's try it slowly here. The note review from D on the 4th string open, all the way up to a G on the 1st string. Pick that once and come right back down. 2, 3, 4. String open, B, 2nd string open, that's the notes before. If we play that in order like that, it makes actually a scale called D Dorian. So for those of you who've been played some guitar before and are curious about the modes on the major scale, that's a Dorian scale. Basically has the same notes as a C major scale, just starting on the D. And that makes a D Dorian. Alright, but that's not one of the specific scales we're learning for this class, but we're just doing it as a note review. We're going past the D all the way up to G. So let's play it again. 3rd one there, note review. 3, 4, I'm going to use the thumb on the D. forgot to mention today, but as usual, you want to have your book out on I would say a chair in front of you. If you don't have a music stand at home, put your book out on a chair and set up the screen in such a way that you can see your book and still see me, and definitely plug in earbuds or headphones so you can hear better. Don't just use the smartphone speaker. Right? Plug in some headphones or earbuds, definitely much better audio quality for as far as hearing me and being able to play along. All right, so now a little faster with the note review. 3, 4. All the notes from the book so far that we should know. So use that handout. You can kind of quiz yourself, make sure you can name any of those, you can play any of those. That's where we are as far as the book, where we should be in the class. We've actually also learned the A and E on the open strings in addition to those, but make sure you can easily recognize any of those notes and name any of them. That's where you should be at this point in the class. And then we learned 2 new scales on Monday, so we're going to go through those again. So C major scale, we start on the C on the 5th string, 3rd fret. That was a new note. We added a couple new notes on Monday for these scales that are we haven't quite got to in the book yet. So that's the first. This scale here is going to start on the C. That's the 5th string, 3rd fret. All right, so you can pause the handout there or pull it out on Blackboard, and that's the C right here. So 1 ledger line below the staff, right on the line, that's the C, 5th string, 3rd fret. And that's where we're starting. We're just going to play a 1 octave scale, C major scale, up to the C on the 2nd string, 1st fret. So all these notes should be very familiar, and then right back down to the C. All right? And the C major scale sound, or a major scale, any major scale sound has that do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do is the sound of the major scale. So let's play it again slowly here. 2, 3, C major scale, 4. So starting with bum. Down, B, down to C, again, C major scale, 3, 4. For the ability to play that up and down in a steady rhythm. Like any of our scales, you want to be able to play it ascending and descending in a steady beat. All right, and then the second one that we learned was A natural minor from Monday. All right, and we're going to do a 2 octave A natural minor scale, and this had a couple new notes in it as well. So this A here, 5th string open, actually we have learned that one in the book. So that's the A, 5th string open, and that's right on the 2nd ledger line, right? So don't confuse it with the C, right? First ledger line is C below the staff, 2 ledger lines below the staff is our A. And remember, it's all alphabetical, so you could just count backwards from the low bottom line. E, D is the space, or actually I could just point to it. So E, and on the line, if I count backwards alphabetically, D, C on the first ledge line, B right below the first ledge line, and A right on the second ledge line. All right, and this one also had a new note on the top. We got this ledge line up here, and that's the A 5th fret on the first string. So that's the highest note that we're going to be playing in this class, is this A right here. So that's the first string, 5th fret, right on your dot there. So that is one spot when I play that A that I do glance down at the hand if I'm coming up to that one. And then I can look back in the book. Anytime there's a shift on the neck of the guitar, that's where we do need to look down at the left hand. So if we're reading a piece of music, we don't have it memorized, as I mentioned, you want to keep your eyes on the music as much as I can and just reach for these notes. But if I do have a shift, I glance down and then right back to the page, catch where I was. So that's the A on the top that we're going to get up to. So this is a 2-octave A natural minor scale. It has that minor sound, and we have to specify natural minor because there's a few different minor scales. All right, that we're not going to get into. Dorian is one that we actually just played for our note review. Melodic minor, harmonic minor, so there's a few different ones. So we have to specify natural minor for this sound. All right, so here we go. A natural minor slowly. 3, 4. To A, back down, G, A, G, thumb, F, E, D, C, B, A. All right, so notice there's definitely some strong similarity to our C major scale. A minor is what we call the relative minor of C major, meaning it has the same key signature, has the same notes. We're just starting on a different starting note. But it's essentially the same exact pitches that we're using for both scales. But in this case, we're doing a 2-octave A natural minor scale. All right, so the definition of a relative, what we call a relative minor, every major key has a relative minor, and that's the minor key that has the same number of sharps and flats. In this case, no sharps and flats. All right, so all the white keys on the piano, we have no sharps and flats we haven't gotten into yet. So C major and A minor are the relative major and minor of each other. Same number, same notes, same number of sharps and flats, which is none. All the white keys on the piano. So very often songs that we listen to will switch between the relative minor and major at different points in the song. The bridge of the song or the chorus might shift into the relative major, or vice versa into the relative minor and then go back to the relative minor. So it's something we hear all the time in music, is transitioning between the relative major and the relative minor of that same key. All right, so that's A natural minor. Let's play it a little faster now. 2, 3, A natural minor. So this is a good tempo to try to get this up to this week. Up and down. Up to A, and then back down. so those are the two new scales. Be sure to be practicing those week. I'm going to have you do those for your midterm video on April 6th. So be sure to be able to do those up and down. Should be very doable with the handout and with this video to get those down. All right, and then let's jump into our book again. Let's go to the fourth string songs here. So back to exercise 11. And this is with the thumb. Alright, so this has a very minor sound. In this case, the key of D minor. So let's play it. Exercise 11. So our first note there, D, fourth string open. And then remember we got the A, which is on the second ledger line. From where the notes are introduced. One more time here. D, fourth string open. So make sure you're very familiar with this page where the notes are introduced here until you can instantly recognize these, and that's where you need to be up to. And then E on the bottom line is the second fret, fourth string, second finger. Make sure to be using. That's our E, first line. And then our F. First space, F-A-C-E, we know that bottom space is F, and then on guitar it's third fret, fourth string, third fret. And then we've got our A open, that we just did on the A natural minor scale, second ledger line right on the line, and then this low E, the sixth string open. That's the lowest note on the guitar in standard tuning, way down here, 1, 2, 3 ledger lines on the space below. Make sure you got those notes down for all these songs that we're doing. So here we go, exercise 11. Let's do it once really slow first, and then we'll gradually speed it up today. As I have to enter my passcode to get to my metronome. So here we go. Try it about 35. Really slow first time. Alright, so for the benefit of the people who are catching up with these notes, we're going to do a real slow here. Again, 35 beats per minute. Exercise 11, I'll play your part with you. 2, 3, all thumb. 1, 2. Up to A. Still use the thumb on this one. 2. 3. Alright, so here we go. I'll do the chords underneath you, same tempo. 2, 3. And then let's bump up the tempo now. We'll do 3 different tempos. Here we go. 11. I'll do your part again. This is 45. Exercise 11. 2, 3. 3. Now with the chords, 2, 3. Alright, and then up to 55. Let's try today. I'm going to go to 60 actually. So this would be the tempo you want to get it up to this week. And go 2, 3. Alright, so hopefully that one should be quite familiar and sounding solid at this point. And then flipping over to exercise 12. Let's go to that one again. Exercise 12. Definitely a jump in difficulty here with mixing the 8th notes into these new notes, or newish notes. Alright, so the very Spanish sounding exercise 12. And now see today if you can do the thumb on these 5th string and 6th string open strings, and then fingers on the even on the 4th string. So I'm going to go thumb, fingers, thumb, fingers. Alright, so really I'm just using the thumb on this one on the A and the E. The 2 bass notes that we're mixing in there, the open A and the open E. And other than that, see if you can use index middle on the all the other melody notes. Alright, so I'm just using the thumb on the A and the E. So try that as we do it once slowly. Let's go all the way down to 30 here, since we got 8 notes in this one. Bum, 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 bum. So this is our quarter note. Bum, 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 bum. And there's a lot of repetition in here. So if it seems hard at first, remember that the same little phrase here at the beginning, bum, 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 is the same as this measure, bum, 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 and also the same as this measure. So it happens 3 different times. So there's a lot of repetition. It's not as long and hard as you think after you practiced it a couple times and get the sound of it in your ears. Here we go. So to exercise 12, 3, 4. Same slow tempo. 3 with accompaniment. 3, 4. This one is in the key of A minor. So the last one we did was in the key of D minor. We don't get too deep into keys in this class. The key is the tonal center, right, that the notes all gravitate around. And in this case, definitely A minor. Doesn't necessarily mean the first note of the melody is the key. In this case it is though, A, and it definitely resolves to A on the last note as well. So this is in the key of A minor. And then the next one is in the key of C major, we'll get to. So we got 3 different keys, these songs that we're playing this week. D minor, this one's in A minor, and 13's in C major. So a nice variety of keys that we're using here, and then Knocking on Heaven's Door is in the key of G major. So we actually got 4 different keys that we're using. Alright, so now speeding this one up. 45. Bum, 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 bum. Here we go. 3, 4. 12 again. 3, 4. Good, and then up to good tempo to get this one up to for this week, and then a little faster next week. Bum, 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 bum. If you're not there yet, keep working on that slower tempo. Rewind the video, but this is where we want to get to. 3, 4. So that's 12. It has a nice Spanish flamenco type sound to it. And then let's go to exercise 13. All right, exercise 13. So this one is in the key of C major. And again, J.S. Bach, worth mentioning again, great German composer, certainly one of the greatest composers who ever lived. And this is adapted from a chorale vocal piece of his, and it's arranged for 2 parts with guitars here in the book. So exercise 13. So let's do this slowly. I'll do your part again on the melody, back to a slow 35. And we watch for those pairs of 8th notes in the 3rd, 4th measure, 3 and 4. So you got a couple pairs of 8th notes, otherwise the rhythm in this one is pretty straightforward, so this one actually might be easier. There's no, the lowest note here is on the 4th string. Alright, so very doable, I think, and it sounds great when we put it together with the accompaniment. So here we go, starting on E. He's actually asking for the first finger on that E on the first note, and the reason because you use the 2 on that next note on the A. So sometimes to make it just more efficient for the left hand rather than to go the same finger on the same fret, different string. In this case, one exception to our rule of whatever fret you're on, use that finger. He's asking for a 1 and then a 2 on the A. Coming to beat 4 in the pickup, 2, 3. mentioning, especially when I'm not there to see you each couple times a week in person, make sure to be reminding yourself about your technique. All right, that's part of the class, part of definitely what we want to be working on as we learn guitar. It's not just the notes on the page, it's or the chords. It's our technique. So right and left hand. So resting this forearm on the lower bout of the guitar, moving our fingers this way. All right, so keep watching for that. So this lifting, not to do, right? Not to do this, you want to do this. Following through into the top of the guitar. Be a little higher off the strings than you're used to when you play with the pick. So this right hand position, if you look at my right hand. So as I go down to these lower strings, say I'm playing the fourth string with my fingers, all I do is lift from the elbow, so I maintain the same hand position. I'm not stretching the fingers out like this, flattening out the palm, kind of with a sloppy right hand. Keep the same hand position and angle, whatever strings you're on, by lifting from the elbow like this. Alright, so good right hand position, not resting the fingers on the guitar. No, there's never any touching of the wood with your fingers. So only on the strings. And left hand, make sure that thumb, some of you, it's not way off to the left, out of position. Thumb is always touching. It's just maybe peeking out a little bit over the top of the neck, my thumb. It's always down around the 2nd fret for our purposes when we're really in first position for most all of this class. Around the 2nd fret is where you want your thumb. And then I'm up curled on the fingertips. So keep reminding yourself all those things as you're playing the songs every day. So now a little faster. Actually, we'll do the same tempo, but with the chords on time. 2, 3. Second line. Alright, so the piece really comes to life when you hear it with the accompaniment part that I'm playing. So make sure you don't lose your part in, when I go to switch to the accompaniment, that you're still counting and that it's lined up. If you get off, just rewind it back to where the accompaniment started and try again. And make sure you're counting, make sure you didn't miss a half note or a dotted half and you didn't get off. Alright, and then up to 45. I'm going to do your part here. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Alright, so part one of this video is going to run out shortly, so you're going to stay tuned this time for part two, right? I see you about to get up out there. Nope, click on part two as soon as this one is finished, because we haven't even gotten to knocking on heaven's door, so class is not over yet. We're going to get to our strum pattern on knocking on heaven's door in a minute, so be sure to click on part two today, because that is going to be essential. So we're not finished yet. Another 15 minutes or so, you'll click on part two for the last 15 minutes of class. But first, we're going to do this one more time with the accompaniment, a little faster now. So let's try 55, 2, 3.